So good afternoon, everyone. It's been a rather unusual day, as I was mentioning to one of my colleagues. At 9 o'clock this morning, I gave a presentation to 50 grade 1 students, trying to make them enthusiastic about science. And to be honest, they're a rather more daunting crowd than you are to try and get going first thing in the morning. So this afternoon, I'm going to just give a brief presentation around the role that technology plays as one of the critical solutions, as part of the critical solution for global agriculture. So just to put a bit of context on, as you can see, this is a picture of our planet. It's a lovely picture in itself. And our planet's really unique in the fact that it is perfectly positioned. It's either not too hot or not too cold. But really, more importantly, it's the only planet that we've got. Now I want to really introduce you to a number, or really what's more importantly a factor, and that's the factor of 2. And what we really need to do is double the production of agriculture by the year 2050 in order to keep up with the continuous growth in population and the need for nutrition. That means by that time we need to grow twice as much corn, twice as much wheat, twice as much rice. We basically need to grow twice as much of everything that we're actually producing today. Now, at the moment, the majority of the high-quality agricultural land is under production, and much of this is under continuous challenge through to both urban and suburban sprawls developing, taking much of this agricultural land out of productivity. In many of the countries where the population is growing fastest, this has actually got the land scarcity onto the government agendas. And if you look at the case of China, they've been purchasing up agricultural land across many countries around the world. And they've currently purchased 2 million hectares globally across 5 continents. You see a similar purchasing of land coming from Korea, who've actually purchased 2.3 million hectares of land. So this is actually going to have, at best, quite a national effect to address this global problem. And really, at worst, it's got the potential to create a new population of haves and have-nots in terms of the ability to produce and use food, as well as some interesting challenges with regard to global trade. There's currently 1.5 billion hectares of land under active cultivation globally. And what we need to do is increase the productivity of that land twofold by 2050. And we really want to be able to do this by increasing productivity rather than to introduce new tracts of land under productivity, which has the potential to result in quite sizable deforestation, which will have obvious impacts on both soil erosion as well as pollution in waterways, etc. And this is quite a sizable challenge for the world moving forward. On top of this, what the average grower or average farmer around the world is facing is a swathe of environmental challenges that's impacting his world. There's climate change, there's environmental variability, there's water scarcity. And all of these together are really having an impact on his ability to produce. And what we see is approximately 2/3 of the world's land is being impacted by either climate change, water variability, or environmental variability, or water scarcity. Now, if you actually look at the ability for us to be able to produce our food, back in 1950, the average was 2 people were consuming the food produced from 1 hectare of land. By the time we hit to 2030, that same hectare of land is going to have to be feeding 5 people. Now, this is 2.5 times increase in productivity in approximately 80 years. This is quite a sizable increase in agricultural productivity. Now, if you add that onto the challenge around land scarcity and population increase, that's quite big. But then if you add on top of that some of the environmental challenges, particularly around water scarcity, it's really difficult to see how we're going to be able to produce this. Now, most people think when they hear the challenge around water scarcity, they're thinking of Africa. It's not only Africa, it's a lot of our developed countries that suffer the same problems. The largest aquifer in the center of the US, which basically produces about feeds about 75% of the irrigation that goes into the largest of the grain production areas in the US, is under constant stress, and that aquifer is reducing each year. If you then add on top the two fastest growing countries from a population point of view, India and China, they're also starting to increase the amount of underground water they're starting to source. So water scarcity is really starting to become a massive challenge. And basically, if you look at the predictions, we're expecting that over a third of the world's agricultural land will be struggling with water scarcity issues by the time we hit 2025. It's not only the environmental effects that are really producing challenges in terms of us being able to produce enough food. It's also the population growth. So if you look at the two fastest growing countries, India and China, you've got approximately 1 billion people who are coming out of poverty for the first time in history. Now, this is going to have a huge impact because these people will have an expectation, the same as the rest of us, which is enough food and high-quality nutrition, which is quite an acceptable wish for these people to have. Now, if you look at all these challenges, I've painted a little bit of a doom and gloom picture. And many of you may think that really meeting these challenges is really impossible. But if you actually look at the options we've got, technology is going to play a huge role in being able to address these issues. So if you actually put technology together with knowledge sharing, you've got the ability for us to provide greater levels of technology, but also the ability to utilize that technology more effectively to growers throughout the world. This will actually have quite a positive effect because we actually predict that if you look at the current technology that's available in the market and the technology that's in late-stage development pipelines of both institutes as well as the multinational companies, you really have the ability for us to bring the growth in productivity back up to a figure of approximately 2%. This figure actually sounds small and sounds relatively insignificant. But if you actually get to that level of 2%, the level that was brought on, that started off with the Green Revolution, you'll actually be able to bring productivity of agricultural land back on track and ahead of the population growth, which is critical. A couple of perfect examples of this. If you take existing technology, so technology that's on the market today, and you actually deploy that technology throughout Asia, Asia will be able to increase productivity by 20% in all agricultural land over the next 10 years. Another perfect example is in the emerging markets within Eastern Europe. So Russia and the Ukraine, if you look at the cereal acreage that's in those areas, only about 10% of that is farmed efficiently. If you then deploy a crop protection regime, so a full package of crop protection products throughout the full season on that those cereals acres that are inefficiently farmed, there's the ability to increase that productivity by 75%. These are huge increases in productivity just by deploying existing technology and improving the efficiency of the use of that agricultural land moving forward. Syngenta, or companies like Syngenta, are really uniquely positioned in order to play a role in this. So through the combination of chemistry and biology and really using that to tailor solutions as opposed to just products, there's the ability of driving solutions that are tailored for the individual grower needs. And if you actually combine that with Syngenta's innovation power, which comes from investing over $1 billion a year in agriculture, in research and development, that's over $2 million a day, including weekends. That's a huge investment into innovation. Together with the global reach, you really have that ability for innovation at a rapid pace and the reach that that innovation can come to and be deployed in global markets. What really has to happen is a system-wide approach in terms of the deployment of technology. Now, this is really looking at multiple areas for this. This is improving both the farm productivity, ensuring that we do this in an environmentally sustainable manner, and managing that environmental footprint of global agriculture, which is really at the responsibility and at the heart of Syngenta. And then, equally as importantly, is continuing to build on the prosperity of the rural communities and ensure that they continue to become more prosperous and that there is a future in these communities. Really is the challenge that Syngenta has taken up and really has at the heart of everything it's doing is the ability for us to support these farmers globally to grow more from less. So solutions themselves, so these packages of technology that really need to be deployed to support that, really need to be a combination of technology, people and land. What we need to do to be able to improve farm productivity is really ensuring that we can enable the farmer to make the right choice. And this is done through us supporting the placement of the right regulation and really ensuring that the farmer's got high quality, safe products to deploy. The ability for us to accelerate innovation and really accelerate that innovation that then can be tailored to the needs of a global agricultural community, not just those of the developing countries. And then equally as importantly is to be a true partner, not just the supplier of products. And that's an important role moving forward. Again, doing this in a sustainable manner is critical for us to be able to grow at the speed we're growing. One of the ways that we need to do this is to really ensure both the land and water sustainability in everything that's done, and then to ensure, equally as importantly, that all of the expansion in agricultural productivity and the deployment of technology is done in a sustainable manner and ensures that it protects the biodiversity of the planet. And finally, building the rural prosperity. It's an important goal for us to increase the prosperity of rural farming communities, to ensure that they enjoy being farmers and there is a healthy livelihood to be had. Now, neither Syngenta nor anyone else can do this on their own, and it really is critical that this gets done in a partnership. And to ensure that the continued communication with all stakeholders is had to ensure that this really sets the new paradigm in terms of global agriculture. And lastly, we really can't forget what this whole sustainable agriculture is really based around. It's ensuring that the millions of people in the world who are either currently coming out of poverty have the ability to get food on their table and nutrition, the same right that we all expect. Technology will play a big role in this, and I think what we need to ensure is the political and the institutional will is also in place to ensure that we can do the right thing. Thank you very much.